If you click this video thinking you're going to get some crazy instructional play-by-play, you aren't. This is an op-ed piece where I talk about the state of the game, how people approach video games in the current climate, and how you can make your time more enjoyable playing Dragon Dogma 2 by allowing yourself to explore and have fun versus trying to mainline the story and min-max every aspect and be disappointed comparing the game to Baldur's Gate 3 or any other heavy narrative RPG that has come out. This game isn't that. And it'll never be that because it was never meant to be that. What I won't be talking about in this video is performance issues, the MTX store, and any other of the same arguments that have been beaten to death across every single outlet. Performance has gotten better, and if you don't like the MTX store, then don't play. I think that's a general vibe across the board. But I don't want to waste your time, so if none of that interests you, please feel free to shut the video down and get back to enjoying Dragon's Dogma, or not enjoying it and playing literally any other game out there. Before you head out, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe if this video helped you, as that is a huge impact on my channel, and I would very much appreciate it. You can also find my playlist and pawn code in the comment and description as well if you need that. Let's get started here on why you aren't having fun in Dragon's Dogma 2. So to open us up, I'm going to load into the game here. And this is probably going to be one of the few times I actually use the game. The rest is just going to be me talking over gameplay. But when you start your game, I think there's this hard notion nowadays when it comes to video games that we have to just kind of jump balls deep into them. I got to get the min-max. I got to get the best character to start off with. Hey, not now, man. I am expositing. And I got to go through the story. I got to do this. I got to do that. You don't. You should approach this game in the same way you probably, or maybe you did or didn't, I don't know, but the way you approach Skyrim, the first time you played Skyrim. And Skyrim, when you jumped in, man, okay, yeah, you had the whole thing, oh, you're awake, cool, whatever. And then you have your dragon attack. After that, I didn't touch the main story of Skyrim for probably 30 or 40 hours. In fact, I didn't beat the main story of Skyrim for like 2 years. I didn't even bother to go back to it after I unlocked the Thum, right? I was like, oh, cool, now I got a shout, and I can unlock more shouts. Why even bother with the story? You should really look at this game in that same exact scope, right? You land right here, and then after that, go and explore whatever you want. And a lot of people have said the game's too easy, and the game is not hard. I'll say that. But also, I think that a lot of people hang around these areas too long, or these areas too long. The game progressively gets harder the more you go in this direction. And then down here, it just gets harder and harder as you go into these locations. This is like, again, the hardest quote unquote location. And the big enemies, even the big enemies in these areas, they kind of morph. Like a Minotaur over here becomes like a Dread Minotaur over here or something like that. So I encourage you to play this game like you played Skyrim. Like you approach the game with actual adventure in your heart and wanting to jump into every different avenue. Oh, what's that cave? What's over there? What's over this? What's over there? That is what's going to allow you to enjoy playing this game without even watching any of the rest of this video. That alone has greatly increased my enjoyment of this game. For example, you can come over here to Checkpoint Rest Town, and if you're in a certain portion of the story, they'll give you a way to get through here and get to the main city. Or you take this really shitty back road where you go through all these different dungeons and you attack all these different monsters and you deal with all these different things. And that's what I did. It took me like 2.5, 3 hours to do it. And that was so fun. And if I take a look over here at the quests, I think this is, the main story quest right now. I'm so far behind in the main story quest, yet I'm so far ahead geographically of where I am. Everywhere in this game, any of the vocations you want to unlock, like Magic Archer or Mystic Spearhand or Warfarer, you don't have to play the main story. The main story right now just brought me to here, but I'm all the way over to here. So play this game however the hell you want. Don't play it in this way like, okay, I think people kind of approach these games because it has kind of like a Dark Souls adjacent skin on it, right? Like, oh, it feels like it maybe should be played like a Dark Souls in sequential order, going to these locations and talking to this guy 7 times and then picking up this 1 coin and giving it back to him and talking to him 9 more times and then getting an item. That's not like that in this game. You have to remember this is a Capcom game. And what that means is not good story. Let's jump into our next thing. And I'm not saying that Capcom games can't have great stories. I'm saying that majority of Capcom games have pulpy, over-the-top, ridiculous stories that you're just like, they're kind of throwaways. You enjoy the action and the game more than the story. And that is extremely true here. The story is whatever the hell the story is here. What I really care about is like spin fuck slamming a dragon in the face with a dagger because I'm a thief. or using all my other abilities as all my other vocations. That's what drives me to this game. In the same way that when I'm playing Devil May Cry, I don't know if you remember playing Devil May Cry 1 when you were my age, which was, I think when I got it, I was like in 7th grade or something like that. There's a point where they break through the final thing at the very end. They're in a plane, and the love interest goes, "The sky, it's so blue." And Dante goes, "It's always blue up here." Man, cutting edge on that writing right there, right? And that's the blueprint for the writing for the rest of the series. It's like a pulpy crap fanfic, but it's some of the best characters, some of the best combat. I love the Devil May Cry series. I love the anime. I love everything about it. I can't. The second Devil or third Devil May Cry, Dante in the opening portions of the game rides a missile around a bar, turning on songs on a jukebox and eating pizza. So let's not jump into a Capcom game and go, why isn't this like Baldur's Gate 3? Which I think has been a really big hang up for a lot of people. Almost like it's like putting a bad taste in their mouth. Like they've just finished watching Lord of the Rings, the extended trilogy, for the first time. And then they go and jump in and watch Mythica. And if you don't know what Mythica is, do yourself a favor and look that up on Amazon Prime. It's like a B-level fantasy film with Matt Mercer in it. But that's my point here, is that this is not Baldur's Gate. And Baldur's Gate 1, 2, and 3 are all tied together by one very strong, important note. Really good character crafting and narrative. And the overarching story for Baldur's Gate 1, 2, and 3 might not be as amazing as the individual stories that you grow with each individual character. And you come into this game where you've got a pawn who's basically glued to you, and the pawn just kind of has some, algorithmic sayings that he says every so often when you approach certain things. So I think that too can kind of leave a little bit of a funky taste in people's mouths. But I think that once you kind of eschew that and kind of look at this game for what it is, which is basically an action game with like a loosely threaded story kind of attached to it and a bad romance system that you really should never really take part in because it doesn't really do much for you. There's more to this game than that. And I'm not going to, here's a hot take right here and now. Skyrim's not a great game. If you release Skyrim now in 2024, it's not good. This game is all the things that I want out of a Skyrim that was released now, as far as really immersive action, a lot of really fun combat, fun customization, a lot of really cool armor. If Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it's the same combat system of Skyrim, of Starfall, of Fallout, it's just not going to have the weight, in my personal opinion. This is a personal opinion. This is not a fact. That I think it's just going to flounder because those systems are not as good anymore. Skyrim, when it came out, was an amazing game. Then Witcher 3 came out and it was just that much better. It was all the things that you got from Skyrim, but even better. This has got all that exploration and all that excitement and all these like twisting and turning through all these different caverns and finding all these different items. And sometimes those items being completely lackluster, just like Skyrim had, where now it's not just me looking at my hands the entire time I'm playing. And that to me is one of the biggest things here. Like Skyrim, in and of itself, when I think about its story, is not amazing. It happened to be pretty cool because you were like, oh, you are a descendant of dragons. But like Oblivion's story is like, oh, there's a bunch of Oblivion gates. Okay, cool. It's the same thing with this. It's just an over-the-top fantasy, very tropey style of story that for the most part, I haven't even completed. I've completely ignored it so I can just keep killing more and more things and having more fun. And that's where I think the fun of Dragon's Dogma exists and lies in, is trying to jump into as many things as possible. Which brings me into my next point. Stop min-maxing. Don't approach this game in like the sweaty way that a lot of people approach video games now, because we're so jammed up with the hyperbole of the ultimate, the best. I am guilty of it. I make YouTube videos, and because of the slave to the algorithm that I have to be, I have to use titles that say stuff like, if you're not doing this, you're dumb, if ultimate, the best. Because that is what people above me and below me are doing. And if I don't do it, people won't click my videos. And this is my full-time job, so I can't feed myself, I can't feed my dog, and it sucks. But you don't need to listen to that. You're a gamer. You spent your money. You spent the 70 ducats to roll deep in this game. So ignore all that crap. And I think that's a really important thing, is play this game how you want. This game is, again, not that hard. I think a lot of people maybe jumped into it thinking it would be hard, but it's hard in different ways than Elden Ring or Dark Souls or anything like that. Those games are such a skill-based game. If you're not good at those games, you will not beat the game. You don't necessarily need to be amazing at Dragon Dogma 2 to beat it. And I think that's an important thing to take a look at, because you might look at it and go, man, I don't like all the endgame armor. That's fine. Don't use the endgame armor. You can use the mid-game armor and just enhance the crap out of it, and it's maybe a little bit less effective as the endgame stuff, but it's still cool looking, and it's how you want to play. That's what I mean. Don't get lost in the doldrum of like, okay, well, I got to play the mage to rank 5. I got to unlock the mage's augmentation for stamina regeneration. Then I have to play the thief to this rank to get the thief's increased damage to with strength, and then I got to do archer to get the vital things. No, just play how you want. Play a gotta catch them all if you want. Play a min-max if you want, but also swap it out. And the game even just tries to tell you this. The game is even like, choose a new vocation. They're all good. And they truly are, in their own way, amazing at the things that they do. I don't like mages and sorcerers, but I can definitely acknowledge that mages and sorcerers in this game are really damn cool looking. It's awesome to be able to kind of sit there and conjure a meteor to smash into the earth. And I like playing stuff like archers and fighters and warriors, and a lot of people don't. So they don't have those leveled up. So I encourage you to try this game out by not looking at it and going, okay, I gotta go find the best sword for this area. Find the sword that you like the look of the most, enhance it, and use it for as long as you can. Because once you get to the points in the game when you have to fight dragons and drakes and souped up Medusa and stuff like that, your weapon is only going to be as effective as you getting to the sweet spots to do the damage. That's the big thing, right? The game kind of becomes the puzzle of trying to hit harder to kill monsters in the places that do the damage to them. Like, for example, there's special golems in this game. They're big, huge rock golems, and they have weak spots all over their armor or their body. You can't do any damage to them if you do not hit them in those spots. If you have the best sword in the game, yeah, it'll do more damage than the weakest sword in the game, but still, you can't do damage unless you're on those spots. So there's a riddle and a puzzle that's built into this game that's more about the way you approach combat and less about, hey, let me go and have the best gear on at all times. Before the game came out, Extra Life did a really good video about, like, you know, things to kind of know about Dragon's Dogma. And one of the things that he said that really resonated with me is that this is a game about preparing yourself for what you're going to deal with. And if you're prepared for it, you're going to win every time. You're not going to lose. It's not going to be that hard. But if you say go and fight something that's completely immune to physical damage, and you don't have any way to enchant your weapons because you didn't put that on any of your pawns, you personally don't have any means to do any kind of elemental damage, the game's difficulty skyrockets because you just can't do damage. And you can only do damage in very little minute windows with little circumstances done in, or you have to go find a barrel and throw it. So there's a lot of stuff to be said about that when it takes a look at playing this game how you want versus getting a little sweaty with all the stats and trying to do this and that. Like, when you take a look at, say, the archer, yeah, you can go ahead and use a spinning arrow and use a drenched arrow and get lightning enchantment and do all those things. Yeah, you can. Or you can just play however the fuck you want and enjoy every second of it and screw off whatever the internet tells you. And that's what I say for every single one of the games that I cover on my channel. I feel like I do a video like this every single time I start covering a game, because I find that so many people in the gaming industry, either the consumer or the publishers or the people that make articles, media, I guess you could say, and content creation across the board, focuses so hard on what the best is. When you know what, man, sometimes the worst of something is something you have the most fun in, and that's all that matters, because the game at the end of the day is supposed to entertain you. And if it doesn't entertain you, then I don't care if you don't like the combat system, the story, you don't like any of the things I brought up in this video. If it doesn't entertain you, then it doesn't fucking entertain you, and you walk away. And that's, I think, the biggest thing here is, don't try to fit a square peg in a round butt, whatever the saying is. If you don't like it, return it and walk away. Don't play it. Don't try to reason with yourself that, oh, maybe it's good if I get to this point. It's like when people tell you, yo, you got to watch this show. It's a 4-season show. After season 2, it gets really good. Okay, so 50% of the show sucks, then it's not a good show, in my opinion. So if you aren't liking Dragon's Dogma, then fuck this whole video. Who cares? If you don't like it, then you don't need to like it. But if you're on the fence or you're something that's just not clicking with it, it might be the way that you're approaching the game. And that, I think, is really important, is because, like I said at the very beginning of this, we jam video gaming now into this super formulaic, min-maxy way of playing because we're all busy people. We have busy lives. We're doing all these things inside and outside of our video games. So enjoy the game how you want. Don't feel pressure to play a specific way. But at the same time, I very much encourage you to play in a way maybe that you aren't used to, or a way that's very unorthodox to the games that you have been playing. Like I said, if you've played any of the Soulsborne games, they are on somewhat of a linear path. Even Elden Ring exists in somewhat of a general direction. And this game does have that general flow, but you can go off the beaten path a lot. And the game very much encourages you to. All the weapons and armor you can find in this game, you can buy them. But you can also find better versions of them or the exact versions. So you don't even need to buy them. That's a big thing about this. The more you explore, the more you're rewarded. It's not a one-to-one. Not every cave is going to give you some cool goodies. Sometimes you go through it and you're like, oh, cool, Wakestone Shard, fuck me, right? But sometimes you go through it and you go, awesome, that's a different version of this really expensive item in the store. I'm either going to use it or I'm going to sell it and buy a different thing. And that's what I just want to kind of close myself off here by saying. Have fun with this game, enjoy it how you want, or don't walk away and play a different game. If this doesn't scratch the itch that you wanted from like a Baldur's Gate type of narrative, there are lots of games coming that are definitely going to do it. But if you're looking for more of an action, more of an open world kind of RPG style of game, then this is going to be the one for you. And maybe you have to kind of change the way you do it. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. If you have any suggestions on how to play, like, hey, you know what? I totally agree with you. This is the way that I'm really enjoying it. Or, hey, I don't agree with you, but this is how I've learned to really enjoy the game. And maybe it's a super like formulaic way of approaching things. That's fine. Like I said before, you can min-max it if that's what you really like to do. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.